It really is. It didn't rain anyway. And this morning we've got with us to give the new voter, the inexperienced voter. Apparently there's about 1.6 million new voters joining the club that enables you to vote. And we've got somebody here who will give you advice on what to look for before exercising your franchise. And it doesn't matter where to whom you want to vote for, but these basic principles may well help you decide. And he's right here with a wealth of experience behind him, having served for many years in the Parliament of Sri Lanka, is Mr. Lasil De Silva. Very good morning to you, Mr. Lasil.
Good morning to you, Faraz. Good morning.
Thank you very much for coming on the program. And of course, Newsline today, as for the next few weeks at least, will be broadcasting from 7 to 7:45, Monday through Friday. We no more broadcast in the evening, but it's in the morning. 7 to 7:45. Send us your questions by SMS to 0772 300 305. We're in conversation with Mr. Lasil De Silva. Mr. De Silva, please tell me, there's about 1.6 million new voters joining the ranks. What should they be looking for before casting their vote? Either at this election, at a provincial election, at whichever election. What are the basics that the voter ought to be looking for in their candidate?
In the first place, we have to elect a government which will definitely fulfill the pledges they give before the people, right? And a guy called, say, Norberto Bobbio, an Italian political analyst, he had said, what happens, what has really gone wrong in the democratic governance systems the world over? He says, the problem is the broken promises. In a country like ours, as you know very well, even in our country, over a period of time, there are heaps and heaps of promises that they had given to get elected. Actually, I'll show you, I brought some documents too. Unfortunate situation is you should not get carried away this time purely based on promises, because most of the rulers that we have had in the past, none of them have fulfilled their pledges. They have broken all the promises. Up to now, none of them have.
But they must have delivered some.
Actually, to tell you, I must be grateful to Mahinda Rajapaksa for winning the war. But unfortunate situation.
But that's this one timeline in our 71-year history.
Yeah, that is one achievement we have had. And we have to also remember.
But that drum has been beaten a lot.
A lot, right? That's why I really wanted to, right? Now, the youth in 1971, in 1989, actually even in the north, they took up arms against the government. For what reason, really? Because there were so many pledges. I brought this...
So many pledges that were not made, that were not kept.
Yeah, that were really not honored, really.
Right.
Now, this is the Youth Commission report that was published in 1989. This was a commission that was appointed by the former President Ranasinghe Premadasa. And there are a number of recommendations. You know, politicization should be stopped. Appointments must be given on meritocracy. No political interferences whatsoever. And there was a circular also issued, 15 of 1990, by President Premadasa. Actually, I believe the present government should have honored that circular. That circular is still in force. Unfortunately, they have not repealed the circular, but they practice something else. They recruit people, and they, after they came to power, they have recruited, given appointments in thousands, actually politically motivated. And the public sector is overburdened. Some don't have even proper seats. My biggest worry, if you continue this way, because there are other issues that they should have considered. I mean, most of those were promises that they had given. One was corruption, restoring rule of law. improving public sector efficiency and delivery of services, right? They also said, creation of employment and all that, right? Such a lot of promises.
But yet, I hear what you say, I understand what you say, and I'm with you on this. But one of our viewers has sent a question in. Already the questions are coming in. Thank you very much. Do keep sending them by SMS 0772 300 305. Card coming up on your screen at some point. And here's the question. With everyone saying that they are fed up of politicians, yet we see large crowds at their meetings. So what does it all mean?
This is the biggest problem. In 1977, there was a huge change. Actually, they introduced the proportional representation and the preferential votes, right? Actually, the proportional representation is the root cause of all the problems. They have segmented communities, they have segmented parties, and they have brought all those people under their banner. Actually, they are divided now. They have created all the divisions. That is the root cause of all the problems. Unfortunate situation is nobody speaks about it, right? Proportional representation is a good thing, the way it is practiced in other countries. But the biggest problem, proportional representation and the preferential system is practiced unethically, most immorally. Unfortunate situation is they spend so much of money to get elected, and they throw billions to bring people.
Is it a good idea to get rid of the PR system?
I think you should get rid of the PR system, because that is the biggest problem in this country. That is the root cause of all the problems what we are facing right now.
Isn't the root cause of the problem when the Elections Commissioner registers parties that are ethnically sort of orientated, ideologically driven by their ethnicity? That, in the longer picture, drives and unsettles the general demeanor of those that live on this island, which is one of peace and getting on.
If you analyze the whole thing very carefully, parties have doubled and tripled, right? It has ultimately ended up, we have 70-odd parties now. It is all because of this proportional representation system, right? If not for that, if that was not created in Sri Lanka, there would have been 3 or 4 major parties,
What should let's getting back to the theme of our program this morning, in which you will impart some knowledge. What should the inexperienced voter and any voter who's interested in making a real change, what should they be looking out for? What should they do?
I like to quote 2 examples, what happened to Zimbabwe and what happened to Venezuela. Right? Venezuela is a country oil rich. I mean, they have the large number of oil wells, the biggest number of oil wells. Actually, they could be the richest in the world, right?
Apart from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, right? And unfortunate situation is there has been corruption for a long period of time. I remember a ruler prior to even 1900, 1800, whatever, had imposed, in the sense, a penalty, if in case they rob 10 pesos, right? Death sentence.
Okay.
And having imposed the death sentence, the judges during that period had objected. He had ordered to kill even those judges, because the corruption issue had been so very serious. Nowadays, now Hugo Chavez was a man who was populistic. Unfortunate situation is these populistic leaders have shown a different face to the people, acted differently, and ruined all these countries. The biggest worry is, don't get deceived for what they appear to be. Go for people who will definitely do the change. I just brought another one. I want to show that also. Now, this government came to power saying that they will catch the thieves. Have they done that in order to catch the thieves? No. In 2015, when the...
What does that say in Sinhalese? Say that out in Sinhalese, please.
Horu allanna kiyapu aanduwa horu rakka. හොරු අල්ලපු මාව ගෙදර ඇරියා.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So the biggest problem in this country, we have to end corruption. And
How does one start to do that? Where does one start? Do we start at campaign financing laws?
now
Where do we do this? Where do we start?
corruption.
Yeah, how do you start? Where do you start?
You know, politics has
Yesterday, we were treated to a message. I do wish that person would send that message to me. I'd love to read it out. And it was, if I was to sort of make it sort of short, what it said is, you know, if the top is corrupt, if the king is corrupt, then the subjects will also be corrupt. If the king is strong backboned and is committed to a corrupt free society,
then zero tolerance for corruption.
Yes, then the people will follow suit, and it applies at every level. If in a company, if one is not given leadership, then the rest
whole thing
down there will all collapse because there's no direction. There's no leader. So you know these are the sort of
the standards.
The standards. So how do we ensure these standards?
Now,
on a practical basis, tell me practically what do we do?
I was trying to tell you what happened in Venezuela. Right? Actually, Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe died having reigned Zimbabwe for 39 years, nearly 40 years, we'll say 37 if I remember right. When Mugabe took over, right, it was known as the breadbasket in that part of Africa. I mean, it's a prosperous country, all kinds of resources, you know. Today, hyperinflation. I read an article written by a senior civil servant. His pension is not good enough to exist, and people are leaving. That's the same thing even in Venezuela, right? What we really need to do is what these people promised. And in 2015, when this commission was appointed, right, we started.
This is the Presidential Commission looking into
frauds and corruption.
Right? Pressifact.
Actually, there was a feeling that only the sprats were being caught, not the large, you know, whales or whoever, whatever, right? Unfortunate situation was that was the practice previously. We started in 2015 to bring in, even the former president was brought before, a number of ministers, right?
But wasn't that merely a big show?
No. Actually, the present government, both...
As my granny would have said, outside show, inside war.
No, actually, both leaders, Prime Minister and the President, should take the responsibility for destroying corruption investigations, however they talk about things differently, you know. In 2016, about the time we were to be sent home, right, there was a message sent to the general public and particularly to the public sector that they should not get involved in corruption. Really, if we were allowed to continue, I'm sure by now we would have created a better environment in the country. Even the public sector would have been cleaned up.
Here's the message. Poverty, corruption, employment, murder, drugs is the talk of the day. Parties are canvassing in millions, spending millions in five-star hotels, AC halls, media publicity, etc. From where is the money coming in?
Good question.
Is the Inland Revenue looking into it and making a tax charge?
You know, in 2006, there was a VAT scam, right? Huge amount of money. For the first time in the public sector, not only in Sri Lanka, I think in most of the countries in the whole world, right? It was a recorded event. Unfortunately, this was the highest robbery that has taken place in the public sector. Then thereafter, the hedging deal, right? Which was also, again, a very well planned, something like the bond scam, you know, all were very well planned and very well executed, right? Huge fraud.
But I have this question for you from a viewer. Your guest knows that there are many cases against the rogues in the previous government, but they keep playing the system and having the cases delayed over and over. We have to first clean up the judiciary. Shame on them, but the most important thing is that under the previous government, the kangaroo courts would have decided in their own favor, as was then witnessed. Does your guest agree that at least we have the freedom to do and say what we want up to now? Isn't freedom the greatest thing?
Actually, the freedom is one of the greatest things, but
it doesn't pay my bill in the
end, right? So what I personally think is all what he says is these are the outcomes. Basically, there is fraud, there is murder, there is theft, all that, right? How did all these come about? The parliament does not perform their role as expected. Parliament is not accountable to the general public. Parliament is
That's
not
the problem, isn't it?
That is the biggest problem, right? Unfortunately, just a little while ago you said if you have a leader at the top who is duty bound to honor the pledges given to the people and who is accountable to the general public and who feels for the general public and who wants to implement laws or all that in the best interest of the masses, not in the best interest of the political, politicians who have robbed billions and billions, right? They have collected all that money. You asked me from where? Actually, they have collected all that money through, people's money. Let me say it that way, right? It is public money. Had all that money been invested in viable projects, I would say, right? Things would never have been like this. Take Zimbabwe for an example, right? They have destroyed all that money, taken all that money and filled their own pockets. They are in that position, right? Venezuela is in the same way.
Okay, but right? Our system, thankfully, doesn't allow something like what Robert Mugabe, another Mugabe to happen here, because now, of course, the president can only serve 2 terms. The incoming president will have very much less powers than even the current president.
No, that's a very good example, but I came prepared, whether it might, right? Now, the president shall, by virtue of his office, also have the right to address and send messages to parliament. It shall be the duty of the president too. I brought the constitution, right?
Right.
This is the supreme law of the land. I like to ask you whether it is the president or the prime minister, whether they abide by the laws or the rules that are there in the constitution. Now it says, ensure that the constitution is respected and upheld. Promote national reconciliation and integration.
These are all words.
No,
what do? They don't do anything to help us. I don't want to even go down the bond route, but there's many instances where they have these commissions of inquiry and all that, and nothing ever gets. It's a bit like the cricket board, all right? It's like the cricket board. Every administration there, they come in, they say the other one was bad. The new one comes in, they say the other one was bad. Nobody's ever gone to court.
Actually, the whole problem is we were lucky to get, a system where the public sector was so very strong in Sri Lanka at the time we got independence, right? Even the parliamentary model, Westminster system.
But what would you like? Now, these young people out there, they're watching this program. And we promised them in the program that we will tell you what to look out for.
I will.
So now we've given them the preamble. Can we get to the meat now?
I would suggest, right? In the first place, like what they have suggested here, right? We need to have a good leader. We must elect a leader who is not going to be, another politician like what we have seen throughout the last several decades. Actually, we should be thankful to the leaders whom we had at the early stages after independence.
Here you go. The message I was waiting for has come. Thank you for having sent this across. Whatever a leader does, masses follow. Whatever standard he sets, his followers emulate them.
Definitely, you're right, 100% in
A
agreement.
long time ago, the late Manu Vikramanayake gave an interview. He was a group director at this company. And I still remember one of the questions was a long interview. It was rather unusual, actually. But it's there somewhere on the net if you want to read it. And in there he said that everyone, I think the question was, how do you guys manage to keep this structure going? And they said, his answer was interesting. He said that everyone wants to emulate the chairman. And so from there you come down, and everyone tries to emulate him, and then the others, and that, and that, and that. So you get a nice structure. Everyone does the same thing.
You know, in simple language, I must tell you, Lord Buddha also has preached the same thing, right? He had said, the cow actually follows the leader.
That was from the Bhagavad Gita.
No, even Lord Buddha had
said the same.
Yeah, said the same thing, right?
Well, there you go. But isn't that the whole point? This is all boils down to leadership. That's what
it boils down to leadership. I must tell you, I wonder whether I'm permitted to say, right? I don't.
Well, you're permitted to say most anything as long as it's not malicious and vindictive, which will land me in trouble.
No. I have served the public sector for nearly 36 years. You know? Unfortunate situation is the people who want to do the right thing are not allowed to do the right thing in this country.
Yeah.
I like to quote, right, an incident where I suffered a serious injustice when I objected in regard to corruption. One of the speakers was also responsible there, called me and asked me, Lasil, oya the lokka, mama the lokka. Right? You have to comply with the system here. In other words, what they told me was, go with the trend.
Go with the flow.
Yeah, right? Don't
even
swim
if
up
the flow was sort of overflowing with corruption,
right,
and departures on due process.
Swim with them.
Right.
Right.
Do you want to tell me who the speaker was?
He's like a priest, preachers, Dhamma, all that, right? And ultimately, I was sent on compulsory because there was an issue, with regard to curtains in Parliament, right?
Curtains?
Curtains. You have 24 ministerial rooms and we had put 26 curtains, right? Actually, and similarly there are other problems. Okay? I stood up and I said no.
No curtains?
No, I mean payments, all that, right?
Yeah.
Eventually it became a big issue in the office. And
why didn't you want curtains? Was it all to do with transparency?
No, the ministerial rooms, they have curtains, 24 rooms, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And it was built for 26 rooms, right?
Right.
When you wanted to do the right thing, you were dealt with.
What's the issue with curtains?
Yeah, actually, you now say you.
Why didn't you want curtains?
No. I mean, you have curtains there in Parliament, so many,
Yes, but what's the issue? What was the issue?
Issue was there was an overpayment.
Ah, now you're talking about
there was an overpayment, right?
Right.
And I raised this issue.
You didn't want, very good for you, you didn't want to, you did what our accounts department do, being very, very careful and look at it all.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did ultimately end up?
Right.
There were various allegations were made against me, issued a bogus charge sheet. I should show it to the public someday if I am given an opportunity. Right? It's not fraud. All that. What happened thereafter, I was sent on compulsory leave. Luckily, went on, fundamental rights and all that, and fought that and back again in the seat.
Okay.
But I am trying to tell you, people must remember, the politicians, they protect the rogues in the public sector too.
Right, okay. Now, I know these are very important points, but please, can we give them 1, 2, 3, these are the things you need to look for.
Yeah.
What about the... Okay, let you start.
Don't vote anyone who is corrupt. Even if there's the slightest doubt, or even if there's a finger pointed at anyone, don't vote any one of them, right? Similarly, it is always better, look at someone and think of his past track record, right? Vote from the alternative groups because they have no reason to protect anyone who have been corrupt, right? Another most important thing is we have to clean up the entire public sector. A lot of public sector reforms needs to be done. All that will have to be done by a man who knows everything about the administration. Actually, I have...
So basically, how do we get there? A, the voter must look at their candidate list and say, right, let's have a look. How clean or how good are these people?
Yeah.
Would you suggest that they also insist in the run-up to the election that all of them make their asset declarations public?
They should do that. There's a law. There's a law, right?
Yes, but there's the law, but I can't get hold of a copy of that and I can't discuss it with you. That's the problem.
Yeah, I might be able to bring it to you.
No, but we'll do it because that's what we do.
Yeah.
But if the law is the law, you will now be breaking the law by discussing their asset declaration.
You know, the biggest problem now, you were of the opinion that the judges are also not doing the right thing. Actually,
well, they're not sometimes. They haven't done the right thing.
But the problem is, how can they do all that? I will tell you a nice story. When I went to Supreme Court, I will name, right? Shirani Tilakawardena said, I won the matter.
I hope whatever you're saying is said under your responsibility.
Yeah, I take the full
I've got no intention of going and having 2 hours with my group legal man.
No. I take the full responsibility. I don't say anything which is not...
Right, carry on.
Shirani Tilakawardena suggested that I should take the matter up outside courts and resolve the matter between the two parties. And the lawyer who appeared for me was Sanjeev Jayawardena. I respect him so much because when he saw my case, he said, Mr. De Silva, I have a social responsibility to do my duty to you free of charge.
Okay, so
normally,
what happened?
He said, the Shirani Tilakawardena, the judge, right, said, saw this matter outside courts and come back next day, and it was fixed for another day for mentioning. You know, this is what happens then. Unfortunate situation was we had to approach the Supreme Court authority there and get the bench changed. Really, it was thereafter fixed under the then CJ. Fortunately, in the end, later, I managed to escape unhurt. If justice was not done that way, I would have been on the road having suffered without doing anything wrong. This is Sri Lanka. So I suggest all Sri Lankans to be aware. If you can elect a good leader, you know, at the top, the presidential election is the best, right? Then we will fight that there should be an entire new set of members in parliament. If you have a new group of people who will definitely abide by the constitution, respect laws, all that, and a disciplined lot, this country can be put right. I told you, in 2015 this commission was appointed. In 2016, right, the message was sent. Unfortunately, this government cried loudly saying that we were harassing public officers. They were being brought before the commissions and being investigated. I said, the media asked me, sir, මොකද මේ කරන්නේ? Media show එකක් නේද? I said, no. Culprits who have committed all types of crimes have to be brought before commissions. And that message was really sent.
Some are brought into commissions after receiving the questions in the form of a letter and expected to reply in the form of an affidavit. So, you know, I had a friend yesterday, he had to go to court because the dengue people took him to court. But, you know, he had to go to court.
You know, this country will never be able to wipe out dengue like
But what about this dengue? It's like dengue, this corruption. So you first make sure that the man or woman you're going to vote for is free of any corruption allegations.
Yes. Totally free.
Totally free. So if there are any claims, they'll have to just sit on the sidelines, clear their name, and try the next round. Correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Second one, insist on seeing their asset declaration,
Yeah.
and that it must be made public.
And the third one
is
you should elect people who will be fit enough to be called legislators, right? None of those, majority of those in parliament are fit to be called legislators because they have not legislated. Now see, they are crying
The island refers to them as lawmakers.
Yeah, even if you have to call them lawmakers, they should know the laws that they have enacted. Now see, 2000, now the 19th Amendment is a very clear example.
So fit and proper.
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Actually, they accuse, or at least they find fault with various things in the 19th Amendment. But out of the 225, 215 of them supported the 19th Amendment. We should not forget that fact. Right? It's a shame for them to be critical about the 19th Amendment. Right? Yeah. Is that the responsibility of legislators whom we have elected? They should look up and respect, or at least speak for them, for us, the public. And they do that to protect their own interests. Nice things came to my mind. Yesterday, the people, now people are rejecting most of the people who cross over. There was an incident where in the Pohot tour, you know, say people, they were not happy. They were yelling, screaming, hooting, all that.
Yeah.
Right? Then to bring the people, or at least to quieten the people, who appeared? Can I say the name? It was in the TV. Yeah, Johnston Fernando.
There you go. You heard it first on Newsline.
Right. So can people who have been named as corrupt come and rule this country? You can't. Actually, we will be worse than even
unless Mr. Fernandez sends any, legal people.
No
here.
Problem. I'm prepared.
I want to say that he was cleared.
No, that's another issue. Actually, unfortunate situation is...
Oh, you mean on that particular case?
Yeah.
Now,
I know what happened in the CWE.
Right.
Rishad Baduddin, there's an allegation of 15 billion fraud.
Right, but these are all allegations. Gee. But right, now then, okay, but back to this thing. Remember those people out there, the first-time voters, they're looking for some guidance.
Yeah. So
and surely, there's another important thing. It's called fake news. You must be aware of fake news. You mustn't believe everything that's on there. You should know how to double-check. Go to other trusted sources and see whether the same thing is being said there. And because fake news can also play an important role.
I think our youth, we are lucky because ours is one of the oldest democracies, right? There's a group of people who have been sort of misled because, the last 10 or 20 decades, right, since 1978 up to now, we have closed down 1,500 village schools. So naturally there are a group of people who are like, they call them slaves, but I don't do it that way because they were deprived of their education, all that, right? We have to have a leader who will definitely extend all what needs to be given to people to uplift the masses economically, educationally, in all that respect, right? So the biggest worry right now what we have, these people who go behind the so-called populistic leaders, maybe I don't want to, I really feel like naming whether it is in the UNP or in the Porto or
here. Go on.
Right? It should not be done that way because they are again followed by people who are rogues behind the whole lot.
Yes, because it says here, we have a question here, it says, just because the masses know the faces, does that mean he can run for presidency?
No, you can't. You can't. Now, we have to have a person with a proven track record. Now, see, we have had leaders, Deng Xiaoping in China, right? He had been there in the political system. Actually, we proposed somebody who had again been in the military with a proven track record, having been able to achieve the goal, right? Proved that I am able to give leadership to a mission. And he had proved that I will do it and I will take it there. That is what people like Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew did. And also, Lee Kuan Yew never tolerated corruption. It was zero tolerance corruption. We promote a team where we will not tolerate corruption at any cost. So, if
Are you sure that Singapore is not corrupt?
No, I mean...
Or that they are, but it's very subtly, ultra subtly done.
Yeah, but if you even take the corruption index, they are about the 8th. Countries like Norway, those countries are at the top. So, actually New Zealand is at the top, right? So, can't we make it like New Zealand? We could. Let me say again, but rogues can't take action against rogues. That is our biggest problem. So trust me, don't elect any one of them.
Okay, so then, so they're looking for all that.
Yeah.
And so basically what we have been alluding to all this time, all these 39 minutes so far, is that we must pay attention to the March the 12th declaration. Is that right?
Definitely. 12th March declaration was signed and agreed upon by all the political forces. Right. UNP, SLFP,
all the names.
All the names, right? But they did not honor. We want to bring up a set of people because democracy is the greatest gift that we had received in 1931 and one of the oldest democracy. We have enjoyed democratic rights, democratic governance all throughout.
Yeah.
Luckily, having had various hiccups, at different stages. My biggest concern is, but we have been lucky even to maintain a distorted democracy. So how do we clean up the whole thing? And we can definitely clean up the whole thing provided you elect leaders who will be ethical, moral, and who does not, the problem is that our politicians have almost got...
Can I just take this question? It's not a question, it's a statement, but there's a question at the end of it.
Please.
Every deed we do today is an investment in either paradise or hell, and is applied toward an eternity of God's pleasure or his wrath. What are you investing in?
I'm investing on the good side of it. I don't want to invest anything for the destruction of the country. Actually, we need, because this was a country, it was considered, now when Japan was at the top in 1948, we were almost the second. Malaysia and Sri Lanka was on par. But Malaysia had taken off. In our case, we have come down to the bottom. If Malaysia could have taken off, why didn't we?
But instead of...
I like to tell another thing. Yeah. Gammons was a politician, a parliamentarian who took part in this debate granting independence for Ceylon. He had said this is a blessed country, fortunate country, because it has got everything. Educated society and administration is running smoothly, run by experts who have, proven skills in the country, and the political leaders are good, right? And there are the roads, railway, all that, and an estate sector, which really brought 80% of the foreign exchange at that time.
But what's the point? The estate sector, they're still living in line houses.
Yeah, but they have been destroyed. This is one of the worst problems I always take up. Now see, the man who was brought here in 1830s as a laborer, his son is a laborer. Down the line, everybody have been laborers and they are living in those same...
Actually, this is a question I'm fond of posing, and I'd like to pose it to Mr. Tonderman from the CWC.
Yeah.
After all these years, I'd like to know the statistics. How many of those estate workers' children or grandchildren are professionals? How many of them did their A-levels? How many went to university? How many have ended up as doctors, accountants, engineers? I'd like to know that, Mr. Tonderman. I know that somewhere along the line you get to see this. I'd like to know the answer to that.
We need leaders of the caliber of, CWW Kanangara. He came up the hard way and he fought for free education, established a system. Actually, we have all the people in the current parliament who have also come up the hard way. Ultimately, within a very short period of time, they have only become billionaires. They have completely destroyed the masses, right? So, personally, we want to set up people in power who will feel for the masses.
I want to thank you really for being on my program. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks a lot.
Newsfirst really does appreciate you. But I want to say, you're a good man, you're an honest man, but I don't believe that you are able to deliver what you believe in. So, really, it's a pity. But just imagine the conclusion, the analogy I have to draw is just imagine if my chairman was to tell someone, look, I can't control the newsroom. It'd be crazy. And that's the sad part of it.
No, you are doing the right thing. You are doing what we do. I always have mentioned, right? When we requested all the media institutions to give publicity, to send us petitions with regard to fraud, corruption. Actually, I am grateful to Maharaja Sirasa because you gave us free publicity without charging a cent. That is why I am with you always, right? None of the others did that and they wanted payments, right? That is the truth.
That is the Maharaja way.
That is the
and
truth.
on that note, thank you very much for watching Newsline. And Leslie De Silva, thank you.
Thank you
and
very much.
You can follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course, Leslie De Silva will be on Talk of the Town on Yes FM shortly. Do take care, enjoy the rest of the day, and of course, God bless.
Actually,
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.